3. Take actions on your goal each day. The difference between a wise man and a foolish one is his response to what he already knows. A wise man follows up on what he hears, while a foolish man knows but does not act. To change, you must take action, and while you are at it, do something positive for someone else too. Nothing improves a person's outlook like unselfish service to someone with a greater need than their own. Choice 4. Have the desire to change. No choice will determine the success of your attitude change more than desiring to change. When all else fails, desire alone can keep you heading in the right direction. Many people have climbed over insurmountable obstacles to make themselves better when they realize that change is possible if they want it badly enough. Let me illustrate. While hopping about one day, a frog happened to slip into a very large pothole along a country road. All of his attempts at jumping out of were in vain. Soon a rabbit came upon the frog trapped in the hole and offered to help him out. He too failed. After various animals from the forest made a 3 or 4 gallant attempt to help the poor frog out, they finally gave up. "We will go back and get you some food," they said. "It looks like you are going to be here a while." However, not long after they took off to get food, they heard the frog hopping along after them. They couldn't believe it. "We thought you couldn't get out," they exclaimed. "Ah, I couldn't," replied the frog. "But you see, there was a big truck coming right at me. I had to." Fall in love with the challenge of change and watch the desire to change grow. It is when we have to get out of the foothills of life that we change. As long as we have acceptable options, we will not change. The truth is that most people are more comfortable with old problems than new solutions. They respond to their needs for a turnaround in life like a Duke of Cambridge, who once said, "Any change, at any time, for any reason, is to be deplored." People who believe that nothing should ever be done for the first time never see anything done. People can change, and that is the greatest motivation of all. Nothing sparks a fire of desire more than the sudden realization that you don't have to stay the same. Fall in love with the challenge of the change and watch the desire to change grow. That's what happened to Aleida Hussein, 78, of Rotterdam, Netherlands. She had been a smoker for 50 years, and for 50 years she tried to give up the bait, but she was unsuccessful. Then Leo Jensen, 79, proposed marriage and refused to go through with wife the wedding until Aleida gave up smoking. Aleida says, "Willpower never was enough to get me off the habit. Love did it." My life is dedicated to helping others reach their potential. I suggest that you follow this advice of Mark Twain, who said, "Take your time and mind out every now and then and dance on it. It's getting all cake up." It was his way of saying, get out of that rut. Too many times we settle into a sad way of thinking and accept limitation that needs to be placed upon us. Embrace change and it will change you. Choice 5. Live on. Live one day at a time. Any person can fight a battle for just one day. It's only when you and I add the burdens of this two awful eternities, yesterday and tomorrow, that we tremble. It is not the experience of today that drives people to distraction. It is the remorse or bitterness for something that happened yesterday and the dread of what tomorrow may bring. Let us therefore live life but one day at a time, today. Choice 6. Change your thought pattern. That which holds our attention determines our action. We are where we are and what we are because of the dominating thoughts that occupy our mind. Take a look at this logism. It emphasizes the power of our thoughts' life. Major premise. We can control our thoughts. Minor premise. Our feelings come from our thoughts. Conclusion. We can control our feelings by learning to change how we think. It is that simple. Our feelings come from our thoughts. Therefore, we can change them by changing our thoughts pattern. Our thoughts life, not our circumstances, determines our happiness. Often I see people who are convinced that they will be happy when they attain a certain goal. When they reach the goal, many times they do not find the fulfillment they anticipated. The secret is staying on an even keel. Fill your mind with the good thoughts. The Apostle Paul advised Whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are of a good report, if there is any virtue and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. He understood that the things that hold our attention determine our actions. Choice 7. Develop good habits. An attitude is nothing more than a habit of thought. The process for developing habits, good or bad, is the same. It isn't easy to form the habit of succeeding as it is to succumb to the habit of failure. Habits are not instinct, they are acquired action and reaction. They don't just happen, they are a cause. Once the original cause of a habit is determined, it is within your power to accept or reject it. Most people allow their habit to control them. When those habits are harmful, they negatively impact their attitude. The following step will assist you in changing bad habits into good ones. Step 1. List your bad habits. Step 2. What was the original cause? Step 3. What are the supporting causes? Step 4. Determine a positive habit to replace the bad one. Step 5. Think about the good habit, its benefit and results. Step 6. Take action to develop this habit. Step 7. Daily act upon this habit for reinforcement. Step 8. Reward yourself by noting one of the benefit from your good habit. Choice 8. Continually choose to have a right attitude. Once you make the choice to possess a good attitude, the work has only just begun. After that comes a life of continually deciding to grow and maintaining the right outlook. Attitude have the tendency to revert back to their original pattern if they are not carefully guarded and cultivated. As you work to improve your attitude to help the attitude of someone you lead, recognize that there are 3 stages of change where a person must deliberately choose the right attitude. Early stage. The first few days are always the most difficult. Old habits are hard to break. You must continually be on guard mentally to take the right actions. Middle stage. The moment good habits begin to take root, options open to bring one on new challenges. During these stages, new habit will form that can be good or bad. The good news is that the more right choices and habits you develop, the more likely other good habits will be formed. Later stage. In the later stage, complacency is the enemy. We all know someone, perhaps us, who lost weight only to fall back into old eating habit and gain it back. Don't let down your guard until the change is complete, and even then, be vigilant and make sure you don't fall into the old negative habits. You are the only one who can determine what you will think and how you will act. And that means you can make your attitude what you want it to be. But even if you succeed and become a positive person, that won't shield you from negative experiences. How does a positive person deal with obstacles and remain upbeat? To find the answer to that questions, read the next chapter. 5. Can obstacles actually enhance an attitude? The greatest battle you wage against failure occurs on the inside, not the outside. Working artists David Bailey and Ted Orland tell a story about an art teacher who did an experiment with his grading system for 2 groups of students. It is a parable of the benefit of failure. Here is what happened. The ceramic teacher announced on opening day that he was dividing the class into 2 groups. Elders on the left side of the studio, he said, will be graded solely on the quantity of work they produced. All those on the right solely on its quality. His procedure was simple. On the final day of class, he would bring in his bathroom scale and weigh the work of the quantity group. 50 pounds F pots rated an A, 40 pounds A, B, and so on. Thus being graded on quality, however, needed to produce only 1 pot, Albert a perfect one, to get an A. Welcome grading time, and curious fact emerged. The works of the highest quality were all produced by group being graded for quantity. It seems that while the quantity group was busily churning out piles of work and learning from their mistakes, the quality group had said theorizing about perfections, and in the end had little more to show for their effort than grandiose their theory of pile of that clay. It doesn't matter whether your objective are in the area art, business, ministry, sport, or relationship. The only way you can get ahead is to fail early, fail often, and fail forward. Take the journey. I did leadership to thousands of people each year at numerous conferences, and one of the greatest concerns is always that some people will go home from the event and nothing will change in their life. They enjoy the show but fail to implement any of the ideas that were presented to them. I tell people continually, we overestimate the event and underestimate the process. Every dream that anyone has achieved comes from of dedication to a process. That's one of the reasons I write books and create audio programs so that people can engage in the ongoing process of growth. People naturally tend toward inertia, that's why self improvement is such a struggle, but that's also the reason that adversity lies at the heart of every success. The process of achievement comes through repeated failures and the constant struggle to climb to a higher level. In order to achieve your dreams, you must embrace adversity and make failure a regular part of your life. If you are not failing, you are probably not really moving forward. When it comes to facing failure, most people will grudgingly concede that any person must make it through some adversity in order to succeed. They will acknowledge that you have to experience the occasional setback to make progress, but I believe that success comes only if you take the thoughts one step further. In order to achieve your dreams, you must embrace adversity to make failure a regular part of your life. If you are not failing, you are probably not really moving forward. The benefits of adversity. Psychologist Dr. Joyce Brother asserts, the person interested in success has learned to view failure as a healthy, inevitable part of the process of getting to the top. Adversity and the failure that often result from it should not only be expected in the process of succeeding, they need to be viewed as an absolutely critical part of it. In fact, the benefits of adversity are many. Take a look at some of the key reasons to embrace adversity and persevere through it. 1. Adversity creates resilience. Nothing in life breeds resilience like adversity and failure. A study in Time magazine in the mid-1980s described the incredible resilience of the group of people who had lost their jobs 3 times because of plant closing. Physiologists expected them to be discouraged, but they were surprisingly optimistic. Their adversity had actually created an advantage because they had already lost a job and found a new one at least twice. Psychologists expected them to be discouraged, but they were surprisingly optimistic. Their adversity had actually created an advantage because they had already lost a job and found a new one at least twice. They were better able to handle adversity than people who had worked for only one company and found themselves unemployed. 2. Adversity develops maturity. Adversity can make you better if you don't let it make you bitter. Why? Because it promotes wisdom and maturity. American novelist William Saroyan said, good people are good because they have come to wisdom through failure. We get very little wisdom from success, As the world continues to change at a faster and faster rate, maturity with flexibility becomes increasingly important. Those qualities come from weathering difficulties. Harvard Business School professor John Cotter says, I can imagine a group executive 20 years ago discussing a candidate for a top job and saying this guy had a big failure when he was 32. Everyone else would say, yeah, that's a bad sign. I can imagine the same group considering the candidate today and saying, what worries me about this guy is that he is never failed. The problems we face and overcome prepare us for future failed difficulties. Adversity pushes the envelope of accepted performance. Light of Givelfee said that a friend of his, who was a circus performer in his youth, described his experience of learning to work on the trips as follows. Once you know that the net below will catch you, you will stop worrying about falling. You actually learn to fall successfully. What that means is you can concentrate on catching the trips swinging toward you and not on falling. Because repeated falls in the past have convinced you that the net is strong and reliable when you do fall. The result of falling and being caught by the net is a mysterious confidence and daring on the trapeze. You fall less, each fall makes you able to risk more. Until a person learns from personal experience that he can live through adversity, he is reluctant to buck mindless tradition, push the envelope of organizational performance, or challenge himself to press his physical limits. Failure helps people to rethink the status quo. For adversity provides greater opportunities. I believe that eliminating problems limit our potential. Just about every successful entrepreneur I have met has numerous stories of adversity and setback that open doors to greater opportunity. For example, Bernie Marcus, the son of the Puerto cabinet maker in New York, New Jersey, was fired from Handy Dan, a do-it-yourself hardware retailer. That prompted Marcus to team with Arthur Blank to start their own business. They opened their first store in Atlanta. It was called Home Depot. Yeah, I'm sure Bernie Marcus was not very happy about getting fired from his job back at Handy Dan, but if it had not been, who knows whether he would have achieved the success he has today. 5. Adversity prompts innovation. Early in the 20th century, a boy whose family had emigrated from Sweden to Illinois sent 25 cents to a publisher for a book on photography. What he received instead of was a book on ventriloquism. What did he do? He adapted and learned ventriloquism. He was Edgar Borgen, and for over 40 years he entertained audience with the help of a wooden dummy named Charlie McCarthy. The ability to innovate is at the heart of creativity, a vital component in success. University of Houston professor Jack Madsen recognized that fact and developed a course that his students call Failure 101. In it, Madsen has students build mock-up of product that no one will ever buy. His goal is to get students to equate failure with innovation instead of defeat. That way, they will free themselves to try new things, they'll learn to reload and get ready to start again. Say, Madsen, if you want to succeed, you have to learn to make adjustment to the way you do things and try again. Adversity helps to develop that ability. 6. Adversity brings unexpected benefits. The average person makes a mistake and automatically thinks that it's failure, but some of the greatest stories of success can be found in unexpected benefit of mistake. For example, most people are familiar with the story of Edison and the phonograph. He discovered it while trying to invent something entirely different, but did you also know that the Kellogg cornflake resulted when boiled with wheat was left in a baking pan overnight, or that the forest sap flooded because a batch was left in the mixer too long and had a large volume of air weep into it, or the Scott towel were launched when a toilet paper machine put too many layers of tissue together. In science, mistakes always precede the truth. Horace Walpole. Horace Walpole said that's what happened to the German-Swiss chemist Christian Friedrich Sohnbein. One day was working in the kitchen, which his wife had strictly forbidden, and was experimenting with sulfuric and nitric acid. When he accidentally spilled some of the mixture on the kitchen table, he thought he was in trouble. He knew he would experience adversity when his wife found out. He hurriedly snatched up a cotton apron, wiped up and mass, then hung him by the fire to dry. Suddenly there was a violent explosion. Evidently the cellulose in the cotton underwent a process called nitration. Unwittingly, Sohnbein had invented nitrocellulose, what came to be called smokeless gunpowder or gun cotton, when he went on to market his invention, which made him a lot of money. 7. Adversity motivates. Years ago, when Bear Bryant was coaching the University of Alabama's football team, the Crimson was ahead by only 6 points in the game. With less than 2 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter, Bryant sent his quarterback into the game with instruction to play it safe and run out of the clock. In the huddle, the quarterback says, "Coach says to play it safe, but that's what they are expecting. Let's give them a surprise." And what that, he called a pass play, where the quarterback dropped back and threw the pass. The defending cornerback, who was a champion sprinter, intercepted the ball and headed for the end zone, expecting to score a touchdown. The quarterback, who was not known as a good runner, took off after the cornerback and ran him down from behind, tackling him on the 5-yard line and saved the game. After the clock ran out, the opposing coach approached Bear Bryant and said, "What's his business about your quarterback not being a runner? He ran down my speedster from behind." Bryant responded, "Your man was running for 6 points. My man was running for his life." Nothing can motivate a person like adversity. Olympic diver Pat McCormick said, "I think failure is one of the great motivators after my narrow loss. I knew how really I could be. It was the David that focused all my concentration on my training goals. McCormick went on to win two gold medals in the Olympic in London that year and another two in Helsinki 4 years later. If you can step back from the negative circumstances you face in life, you will be able to discover that there are positive benefits to your negative experiences. That is almost always true. You simply have to be willing to look for them and not take the adversity you are experiencing too personally. So if you lose your job, think about the resilience you are developing. If you try something during and survive, think about what you learn about yourself and how it will help you take on new challenges. If a restaurant gets you all the wrong, figure out if it's an opportunity to learn a new skill, and if you experience a train wreck in your career, think of the maturity it's developing in you. Besides, Bill Vaughan says, in the game of life, it's a good idea to have a few early losses which relieve you of the pressure of trying to maintain an undefeated season. Always measure an obstacle next to the size of the dream you are pursuing. It's all on how you look at it. Try and you can find the good in every bad experience. What could be worse? One of the most incredible stories of adversity, overcome, and success again is that of Joseph of ancient Hebrew. You may be familiar with the story. He was born the 11th of 12 sons in a wealthy Middle Eastern family straight with raising livestock. As a teenager, Joseph alienated his brother. First, he was his father's favorite, even though he was nearly the youngest. Second, he used to tell his father anytime his brother were not doing the work properly with his sheep. And third, he made a mistake of telling his older brother that one day he would be in charge of them. At first, a group of his brother wanted to kill him, but the eldest Reuben prevented them from doing that. So when Reuben was not around, the others sold him into slavery. Joseph ended in Egypt working in the house of the captain of the guard, a man named Potiphar. Because of his leadership and administrative skill, Joseph quickly rose in the rank, and before long he was running the entire household. He was making the best of a bad situation, but then things got worse. The wife of his master tried to persuade him to sleep with her. When he refused, she accused him of making advance toward her and got Potiphar to throw Joseph in prison. To Pharaoh, and get me out of this prison, for I was forcibly carried off the form of the land of the Hebrew, and even here I have done nothing to deserve but being put in the dungeons. Joseph had a great hope. A few days later, when the official was returned to court and got the good grace of the monarch, he expected any minute to receive word that Pharaoh was setting him free. But he waited and waited. 2 years passed before the cupbearer remembered Joseph. He did so only because Pharaoh wanted someone to interpret of his dream. Finally, the payoff. In the end, Joseph was able to interpret Pharaoh's dreams, and because the Hebrews saw such a great wisdom, the Egyptian rules put Joseph in charge of the entire kingdom. As the result of Joseph's leadership, planning, and a system of food storage, when famine struck in the Middle East 7 years later, many thousands of people, although otherwise would have died, were able to survive, including Joseph's own family. When his brother traveled to Egypt to relieve from the famine, 20 years after selling him into slavery, they discovered that their brother Joseph was not only alive, but second in command of the most powerful kingdom in the world. Few people would welcome the adversity of 13 years in the bond age as a slave and prisoner, but as far as we know, Joseph never gave up hope and never lost his perspective, nor he did hold a grudge against his brother. After their father died, he told them, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done and the saving of many lives." Joseph found the positive benefit in his negative experiences, and if he can do it, so can we. To help you do that, you need to take the next step. When it comes to attitude, you have to be able to deal positively with failure. Part 3. The future with the right attitude. 6. What is failure? Every successful person is someone who failed yet never regarded himself as a failure. In an interview years ago, David Brinkley asked advice columnists and leaders what questions he most frequently received from leaders. Her answer: "What's wrong with me?" The lender's response revealed a lot about human nature. Many people wrestle feeling with feeling a failure the most damaging being undoubtful thoughts about themselves. At the heart of those thoughts and feeling is one central question: am I a failure? And that's a problem because I believe it's nearly impossible for any person to believe he is a failure and succeed at the same time. Instead, you have to meet failure with the correct attitude and determined to fail forward. It seems that advice columnists such as the liners and human writers recognize that keeping a good attitude about yourself is important to overcoming adversity and mistakes. The late Irma Bomek, who wrote a widely syndicated weekly humor column until a few weeks before her death, had a firm grasp on what it meant to persevere and fail forward without taking failure too personally. From newspaper copy girl to Time magazine cover girl, Emma Bombeck traveled a route that was filled with adversity. Starting with her career, she was drawn to journalism early in life. Her first job was as a copy girl at the Dayton Journal Herald when she was a teenager, but when she went off to college at Ohio University, a guidance counselor advisor forgot about writing. She refused. Later, she transferred to the University of Dayton and in 1949 graduated with a degree in English. Soon afterwards, she began working as a writer for the obituary column on the women's page. The year of her city carried over into her personal life. When she got married, one of her deepest desires was to become a mother, but much to her dismay, her doctors told her she was incapable of having children. Did she give up and consider herself a failure? No. She and her husband explored the possibility of adoption, and then they adopted a daughter. 2 years later, as the process Irma became pregnant, but even that brought her more difficulties. In 4 years, she experienced 4 pregnancies, but only 2 of the babies survived. In 1964, Erna was able to convince the editor of small neighborhood newspaper, the Catherine Outwood Times, to let her write a weekly humor column. Despite the pitiful $3 per article she was paid, she kept writing, and that opened the door for her. The next year, she was offered the opportunity to write a 3 times a week column for her old employer, the Dayton Journal Hero. Yeah, by 1967, her column was syndicated and carried by more than 900 newspapers. For slightly more than 30 years, Erna wrote her humor column. During that time, she published 15 books. She was recognized as one of the 25 most influential women in America. Appeared frequently on the television show Good Morning America, was featured on the cover of Time magazine and received innumerable honors, and was awarded 15 honorary degrees, more than her share of problems. But during that span of time, Erna Bomberg also experienced incredible trouble and trial, including breast cancer, a mastectomy, and a kidney failure. She was not shy about sharing her perspective on her life experiences. That winning attitude kept Erna Bomberg down to earth. It also kept her going and writing through the disappointment, the pain, the surgeries, and the daily kidney dialysis until her death at age 6. Every genius could have been a failure. Every successful person is someone who failed, yet never regarded himself as a failure. For example, Wolfgang Mozart, one of the geniuses of musical composition, was told by Emperor Ferdinand that his opera The Marriage of Figaro was too far noisy and contained far too many notes. Artist Vincent van Gogh, whose painting now yet set record for the sums they bring at auctions, sold only one painting in his lifetime. Thomas Edison, the most prolific inventor in history, was considered unteachable as a youngster, and Albert Einstein, the greatest thinker of our time, was told by a Munich schoolmaster that he could never amount to much. I think it's safe to say that all the great achievers are given multiple reasons to believe that they are failures, but in spite of that, they remain positive and they persevere. In the face of adversity, rejection, and failing, they continue believing in themselves and refuse to consider themselves failures. They choose to develop the right attitude about failure. Failing forward is not false self-esteem. I place high value on praising people, especially children. In fact, I believe that people live up to your level of expectation, but I also believe that you have to base your praise on truth. You don't make up nice things to say about others. Here is the approach I use to encourage and lead others. Value people, price effort, reward performance. I use that method with everyone. I even use a form of it with myself. When I am working, I don't give myself a reward until after the job is finished. When I approach a task or project, I give it my very best no matter what the results are. I have a clear conscience. I have no problem sleeping at night, and no matter where I fell or how many mistakes I make, I don't let it devalue my worth as a person. As this saying goes, God uses people who fail, because there are not any other kind around. It's possible to cultivate a positive attitude about yourself no matter what circumstances you find yourself in or what kind of history you have. 7 abilities needed to fail forward. Here are 7 abilities of achievers that enable them to fail, not take it personally, and keep moving forward. 1. Reject rejections. Author James Allen states, "A man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. That's why it's important to make sure your thinking is on the right track. People who don't give up, they keep trying because they don't base their self-worth on their performance. Instead, they have an internally based self-image. Rather than say, I am a failure, they say, I am missed that one, or I made a mistake." Psychologist Martin E. Seligman believes we have two choices when we fail. We can internalize or externalize our failure. People who blame themselves when they fail think they are worthless, talentless, unlovable, says Seligman. People who blame external events do not lose self-esteem when bad events strike. To keep the right perspective, take responsibility for your actions, but don't take failure personally. 2. See failure as temporary. People who personalize failure see a problem as a hole they are permanently stuck in. But achievers see any predicament as temporary. For example, take the case of United States President Harry S. Truman in 1922. He was 38 years old, in debt, out of work. In 1945, he was the most powerful leader of the free world, occupying the highest office in the land. If he had seen failure as permanent, he would have remained stuck and never would have kept trying and believing in his potential. 3. The failures as isolated incident. Author Leo Buscaglia once talked about his admiration for cooking expert Julia Child. "I just love her attitude," she says. "Tonight we are going to make a souffle, and she beats this and wish that, and she drops things on the floor, and does all these wonderful human things. Then she takes the souffle and throws it in the oven and talks to you for a while. Finally, she says, 'Now it's ready.' But when she opens the oven, the souffle just falls flat as a pancake. But does she panic or burst into tears? No. She smiles and says, 'Well, you cannot win them all. Bon appetit.' When achievers fail, they see it as a momentary event, not a lifelong epidemic. It's not personal. If you want to succeed, don't let any single incident color your view of yourself. 4. Keep expectation realistic. The greater the feat you desire to achieve, the greater the mental preparation required for overcoming obstacles and persevering over the long haul. If you want to take a stroll in your neighborhood, you can reasonably expect to have few, if any, problems, but that's not the case if you intend to climb Mount Everest. It takes time, effort, the ability to overcome setbacks. You have the approach, stay with reasonable expectation, not get your feeling hurt when everything does not turn out perfectly. Something that happened on baseball's opening day in 1954 illustrates the point well. The Milwaukee Braves and the Cincinnati Reds play each other, and the rookie for each team made his major league debut during that game. The rookie who played for the Reds hit for a double and helped his team win with a score of 9-8. The rookie for the Braves went 0-5, and the Reds player was Jim Greengrass, a name you probably haven't heard. The other guy who didn't get a hit might be more familiar to you. His name was Hank Aaron, the player who became the best home run hitter in the history of baseball. If Aaron's expectation for that first game had been unrealistic, who knows? He might have given up baseball. Surely he was not happy about his performance that day, but he didn't think of himself as a failure. He had worked too hard for too long. He was not about to give up easily. And 5. Focus on strength. Another way achievers keep themselves from personalizing failure is by focusing on their strength. Bob Butera, president of the New Jersey Devil hockey team, Was asked, "What makes a winner?" He answered, "What distinguishes winners from losers is that winners concentrate at all times on what they can do, not on what they cannot do. If a guy is a great shotter but not a great stage skater, we tell him to think only about the shot, and the shot, never about some other guy outsticking him." The idea is to remember your successes. If a weakness is a matter of character, it needs much attention. Focus on it until you shore it up. Otherwise, the best bet for failing forward is developing and maximizing your strengths. 6. Fairy approaches to achievement. In the psychology of achievement, Brian Tracy writes about four millionaires who met their fortunes by age 35. They were involved in an average of 17 business before finding the one that took them to the top. They kept trying and changing until they found something that worked for them. Achievers are willing to vary their approaches to the problem. That's important in every walk of life, not just business. For example, if you are a fan of the track and field event, you have undoubtedly enjoyed watching athletes compete in the high jump. I am always amazed by the heights achieved by the men and women in that event. What's really interesting is that in the 1960s, the sport went through a major challenge in technique that allowed athletes to break the old record and push them up to new levels. The person responsible for the change was Dick Fosbury, where previous athletes used the stale method to high jump, in which they went over the bar while facing it with one arm and one leg leading. Fosbury developed a technique where he went over head first with his back to the bar. It was dubbed for the Fosbury flop. Developing a new high jump technique was one thing, getting it accepted by others was another matter. Fosbury remarked, "I was told over and over again that I would never be successful, that I was not being to be competitive, and the technique was simply not going to work. All I can do was shrug and say, 'We will just have to see.'" And people did see. Fosbury won the gold medal in the Mexico City Olympic in the 1968, shattering the previous Olympic record and setting new world record in the process. Since then, nearly all world-class high jumpers have used his technique. To achieve his goal, Fosbury varied his approach to high jumping, and he kept a positive attitude by not allowing others' comment to make him feel like a failure. 7. Bounce back. All achievers have in common the ability to bounce back after an error, mistake, or failure. Psychologist Simon Carruthers says, "Life is a series of outcomes. Sometimes the outcome is what you want, great. Figure out what you did right. Sometimes the outcome is what you don't want, great. Figure what you did so you don't do it again." The key to bouncing back is found in your attitude toward the outcome. Achievers are able to keep moving forward no matter what happens, and that's made possible because they remember the failure, do not make them failures. No one should take mistakes personally. That's the best way to pick yourself up after a failure and continue with a positive attitude. Once you do that, you are ready for success, which happens to be the subject of the next chapter. 7. What is success? Attitude determines how far you can go on the success journey. Do you want to be successful? The problem for most people who want to be successful is not that they cannot achieve success. The main obstacle for them is that they misunderstand success. They don't have the right attitude about it. Malt B. D. Babcock said, "One of the most common mistakes and one of the cost lies is thinking that success is due to some genius, some magic, something or other which we do not possess." What is success? What does it look like? Most people have a vague picture of what it means to be a successful person that looks something like this: the wealth of Bill Gates, the physique of Arnold Schwarzenegger or Tyra Banks, the intelligence of Albert Einstein, the athletic ability of Michael Jordan, the business prowess of Donald Trump, the social grace and poise of Jackie Kennedy, the imagination of Walt Disney, and the heart of Mother Teresa. That sounds absurd, but it's closer to the truth that we would like to admit. Many of us picture success as looking like someone other than who we are. That's the wrong way to think about it. If you try to become just like even one of these other people, you wouldn't be successful. You will be a bad imitation of them, and you will eliminate the possibility of becoming the person you are meant to be. The wrong attitude about success. Even if you avoid the trap of thinking that success means being like some other person, you might still have a wrong attitude towards success. Many people wrongly equate it with the achievement of some sort, with arriving at a destination or attaining a goal. Here are several of the most common misconceptions about the success. Well, probably the most common misunderstanding about success is that it's the same as having money. A lot of people believe that if they accumulate wealth, they will be successful, but wealth does not eliminate current problems, and it introduces many new ones. If you don't believe that, look at the lives of lottery winners. Wealth does not bring contentment or success, a special feeling. Another common misconception is that people have achieved success when they feel successful or happy, but trying to feel successful is probably even more difficult than trying to become wealthy. The continual search for happiness is a primary reason so that many people are miserable. If you make happiness your goal, you are almost certainly destined to fail. You will be on a continual roller coaster, changing from successful to unsuccessful with every mood change. Life is uncertain, and emotions are not stable. Happiness simply cannot be relied upon as a measure of success. Specified and worthwhile possessions. Think back to when you were a kid. Chances are that there was a time when you wanted something badly and you believed that if you possessed that thing, it would make a significant difference in your life. When I was 9 years old, it was a burgundy and silver screen bicycle which I received for Christmas, but I soon discovered that it didn't bring me the success or long-term contentment that I hoped for than expected. That process has repeated itself in my life. I found that success didn't come when I became a starter on my high school basketball team, when I became the student body president in college, or when I bought my first house. It has never come as a result of possessing something I wanted. Possessions are the best of temporary fix. Success cannot be attained or measured that way. Power. Charles McElroy once joked, power is usually recognized as an excellent short-term antidepressant. That statement contained a lot of truth because power often given the appearance of success, but even then, it's only temporary. You have probably heard before the quote from English historian Lord Acton, power tends to corrupt and power corrupt absolutely. Abraham Lincoln, a quote that belief when he said, nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. Power really is a test of character in the hands of a person's integrity. It is determined this benefit in the hand of a tyrant. It causes terrible destruction. By itself, power is neither positive nor negative, and it is not the source of security or success. Besides, all dictators, even benevolent ones, eventually lose power. Achievement. Many people have what I call destination disease. They believe that if they can arrive somewhere, attain a position, accomplish a goal, or have a relationship with the right person, they will be successful. At one time, I had a similar view of success. I defined it as a progressive realization of a predetermined, worthwhile goal. But over time, I realized that the definition fell short of the mark. Success is not a list of goals to be checked off one after another. It's not reaching a destination. Success is a journey. The right attitude about success. If success is a journey, how do you get started? What does it take to be successful? Two things are required: the right attitude towards success and the right principle for getting there. Once you redefine success as a journey, you can maintain the right attitude toward it. Then you are ready to start the process. The result may be as unique as each individual, but the process is the same for everyone. Here is my definition of success. Success is knowing your purpose in life, growing to reach your maximum potential, and showing seeds that benefit others. When you think of success in this way, you can see why it must be seen as a journey rather than a destination. No matter how long you live and what you decide to do in life, as long as you have the right attitude about it, you will never exhaust your capacity to grow toward your potential and run out of opportunities to help others. When you see success as a journey, you will never have the problem of trying to arrive at an elusive final destination, and you will never find yourself in a position where you have accomplished some final goal, only to discover that you are still unfulfilled and searching for something else to do. To get a better handle on this aspect of success, let's take a look at each one of them. Knowing your purpose. Nothing can take the place of knowing your purpose. Millionaire industrialist Henry G. Kaiser, the founder of Kaiser Aluminum as well as Kaiser Permanente healthcare system, said, "The evidence is overwhelming that you cannot begin to achieve your best unless you set some aim in life." Or put another way, if you don't try actively to discover your purpose, you are likely to spend your life doing the wrong thing. I believe that God created every person for a purpose. According to psychologist Viktor Frankl, everyone has his own specific vocation or missions in life. Everyone must carry out a concrete assignment that demands fulfillment. Therein, he cannot be replaced, nor can his life be repeated. Thus, everyone's task is unique as his specific opportunity to implement it. Each of us has a purpose for which we were created. Our responsibility and our greatest joy is to identify it. Here are some questions to ask yourself to help you identify your purpose. For what I'm certain, all of us have a strong desire buried in our heart, something that speaks to our deepest thoughts and feelings, something that sets our souls on fire. So you only need to find it. Why was I created? Each of us is different. Think about your unique mix of ability, the resources available to you, your personal history, and the opportunities around you. If you objectively identify this factor and discover the desire of your heart, you will have done a lot toward discovering your purpose in life. Do I believe in my potential? If you don't believe that you have potential, you will never try to reach it. You should take the advice of President Theodore Roosevelt, who said, "Do what you can and with what you have where you are." If you do that with your eyes fixed on your life purpose, what else can be expected of you? When do I start? The answer is that the question is now. Growing to your potential. Novelist H.G. Wells held the wealth, authority, place, and power are no measures of success whatsoever. The only true measure of success is the ratio between what we might have been and what we have become. In other words, success comes as a result of growing to our potential. We have nearly limitless potential, yet too few ever try to reach it. Why? The answer lies in this. We can do anything, but we cannot do everything. Many people let everyone around them decide their agenda in life, and as a result, they never really dedicate themselves to their purpose in life. They become a jack of all trades, master of none, rather than a jack of few trades focused on one. If that describes you more than you would like, you are probably ready to take steps to make a change. Here are 4 principles to put you on the road to growing toward your potential. 1. Concentrate on one main goal. Nobody ever reaches her potential by scattering herself in 20 directions. Reaching your potential requires focus. 2. Concentrate on continual improvement. David Dickless, chairman of the executive committee of Walmart board of directors, was once asked whom he admired most. His answer was Walmart founder Sam Walton. He remarked, "There has never been a day in his life since I have known him that he didn't improve in some way." Commitment to continual improvement is the key to reaching your potential and to being successful. 3. Forget the past. My friend, pastor of a church on the way in Van Nuys, California, commented, "The past is the dead issue, and we cannot gain any momentum moving toward tomorrow if we are dragging the past behind us." If you need inspiration to think of other people who are overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles, such as Booker T. Washington, Helen Keller, and Franklin Delano Roosevelt, each of them overcame incredible odds to achieve their things. And remember, no matter what you have faced in the past, you have the potential to overcome it. 4. Focus on the future. Baseball Hall of Famer Yogi Berra declared, "The future is not what it used to be." Although that may be true, but it's still the only place we have to go. Your potential lies ahead of you. Whether you are 8, 18, 48, or 80, you still have room to improve yourself. You can become better tomorrow than you are today. As the Spanish proverb says, "He who does not look ahead remains behind." Sowing the seeds that benefit others. When you know your purpose in life and growing and to reach your maximum potential, you are well on your way to being a success. But there is one more essential part of the success journey, helping others. Without that aspect, the journey can be a lonely and shallow experience. It's been said that we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. Physician, theologian, and philosopher Albert Schweitzer stated in even more strongly, the purpose of human life is to serve and to show compassion and the will to help others. For him, the success journey led to Africa where he served people for many years. For you, sowing seed that benefit others probably won't mean traveling to another country to serve the poor unless that is the purpose you were born to fulfill. However, if you are like most people, helping others is something you can do right here at home, whether it's spending more time with your family, developing an employer who shows potential, helping people in the community, or putting your desire on hold for the sake of your dream at work. The key is to find your purpose and help others while you are pursuing it. Entertainer Danny Thomas insisted that all of us are born for a reason, but all of us do not discover why. Success in life has nothing to do with what you gain in life or accomplish for yourself. It's what you do for others. We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. Having the right view of success can help you keep a positive attitude about yourself and life, no matter what kind of circumstances you find yourself in, and if you can help the people you lead to adopt the same view of success, you can help them to always have hope and to become successful. Why? Because all people, regardless of the talent level, education, or upbringing, are capable of knowing their purpose, growing in their maximum potential, and showing seeds that benefit others. And helping people is what leadership is really all about. But there is one more truth you need to know if you want to be a successful leader in the area of attitude, and you will find that in the last chapter. Chapter 8, How Can a Leader Keep Climbing? Leaders have to give up to go up. Many people today want to climb up the corporate ladder because they believe that freedom and power are the prizes waiting at the top. What they don't realize is that the true nature of leadership is really sacrifice. Most people will acknowledge that the sacrifices are necessarily fairly early in the leadership career. People give up many things in order to gain potential opportunities. For example, Tom Murphy began working for General Motors in 1937. But he almost refused the first position he was offered with the company because the $100 a month salary barely covered his expenses. Despite his misgivings, he took the job anyway, thinking the opportunity was worth the sacrifice. He was right. Murphy eventually became General Motors chairman of the board. Sacrifice is a constant in a leadership. It is an ongoing process, not a one-time payment. It's an attitude that any successful leader must maintain. When I look back at my career, I recognize that there has always been a cost involved in moving forward. That's been true for me in the area of finance. With every career change I have made since I was 22 years old. Anytime you know that the step is right, don't hesitate to make a sacrifice. You will have got to give up to go up. Leaders who want to rise have to do more than take an occasional cut in pay. They have to give up their rights, as my friend Carol Brooks says. When you become a leader, you lose the right to think about yourself. For every person, the nature of the sacrifice may be different. Leaders give up to go up. That's true of every leader, regardless of professions. Talk to any leader and you will find that he has made repeated sacrifices. Usually, the higher the leader has climbed, the greater the sacrifices he has made. The higher you go, the more you give up. Who is the most powerful leader in the world? I would say it's the President of the United States. More than any other single person, his action and word make an impact on people, not just in one country, our country, but around the globe. Think about what he must give up to reach the office of president and then to hold that office. His time is no longer his own. He's scrutinized constantly. His family is under tremendous pressure. As a matter of course, he must make decisions that can cost thousands of people their life. Even after he leaves office, he will spend the rest of his life in the company of Secret Service agents who protect him from bodily harm. The greater the leader, the more he must give up. Think about someone like Martin Luther King Jr., his wife, Coretta Scott King, remarked in My life with Martin Luther King Jr., day and night our phone would ring, and someone would pour out a string of absence epithets. Frequently, the calls ended up with a threat to kill us if we didn't get out of town. But in spite of all the danger, the chaos of our private life, I felt inspired, almost elated. While pursuing his course of leadership during the civil rights movement, King was arrested and jailed on many occasions. He was stoned, taped, and physical attacked. His house was bombed, yet his vision and his influence continued to increase. Ultimately, he sacrificed everything he had, but what he gave up, he parted with willingly. In his last speech, delivered the night before his assassination in Memphis, he said, I don't know what will happen to me now. We have got some difficult days ahead, but it doesn't matter how to me now because I have been to the mountaintop. I won't mind. Like anybody else, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will, and He is allow me to go up to the mountain. I have looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people we get to the promised land. I'm so happy tonight. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. The next day he paid the ultimate price of sacrifice. King's impact was profound. He influenced millions of people to peacefully stand up against a system and society that fought to exclude them. The higher level of leadership you want to reach, the greater the sacrifices you will have to make. What successful people find to be true becomes even clearer to them when they become leaders. There is no success without an attitude of sacrifice. The higher the level of leadership you want to reach, the greater the sacrifices you will have to make. To go up, you have to give up. That is true nature of leadership. That's the power of the right attitude. Thanks for listening.